I'm Associate Professor at the University of Macau, Faculty of Law. And today I would like to share with you our experience with teaching business law in the BRICS countries and applying team teaching and educational technologies. I'm going to share with you the slides. First of all, I would like to introduce our team. First and foremost, our team is our students. So here on the left, you see the first cohort of the students who took this course in 2017. And these are master students of international business law, studying in English language. In 2017, the class mainly consisted of the students coming from the mainland of China and Macau, but throughout the years we also had students from other countries, increasing the diversity of the group. And on the right, there is a photo of the team teachers, the colleagues Dennis and Rostam, with whom we have designed and taught in this class starting from 2017. From the very beginning, we tried to combine our teaching activity with our research and service activities. So we have offered this course under the general title Advanced Issues of International Trade Law. This general title allows us to offer innovative content, also changing and adjusting it throughout the years without actually changing the structure of the curriculum. This is an elective course which is offered to the master students. We also participated in the blended learning project launched by the Center for Teaching and Learning Enhancement at our university. At that time, they were trying to experiment with blended learning, and so our course was selected as one of the showcases to test different blended learning methodologies. Also, many students have been inspired by the topics that we discussed within this course, and so subsequently we were supervising a number of master and PhD dissertations which were written on the BRICS-related subjects. In terms of research, we have received the support from the University of Macau in the form of the multi-year research grant, which was focused on the role of the BRICS countries in different areas of global governance. We have produced several publications coming from this project, which I'm going to mention a bit later. In terms of service, our experiences have helped us to participate in the reform of the curriculum of our master programs when we discussed how to incorporate the blended learning element into the current system of the credit, which is based on the teaching hours, and also how to introduce innovative courses or innovative content in the existing courses. We also took part in several international conferences presenting our research and our teaching experiences. For example, we have attended the BRICS Legal Forum in Moscow in 2017, and then last year in 2019 we presented our project at the Institute of International Law of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. We also had an opportunity to invite visiting scholars and guest speakers who delivered an original knowledge and presented their insights in our course. When we come to the course content, I would divide it in two parts. First part is the general introduction on the legal systems of these 5 countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Unfortunately, despite the importance of these countries in the global trade and global governance, the legal scholarship focused on these countries is relatively scarce, especially in the comparative aspect. That is why the first part of our course was essentially introducing the major features of the legal systems of these countries, which is an interesting comparative law exercise. In the second part of the course, we have focused on particular issues of relevance to the international business lawyers overseeing cross-border transactions. Here we focused on the international trade and trade-related issues such as investment, intellectual property rights, competition law. And since last year, we have also added a component on the sustainable development, which covers climate change and environment, as well as development aid, and the discussion on the functioning of the new development bank, which is the only international organization that has been established by the BRICS countries so far. Coming to the team teaching, one of the reasons why we resorted to this form of teaching is that the broad scope of the discipline, due to the diversity in legal systems and the language barriers, it would be quite difficult for a single lecturer, for a single teacher to address all the BRICS countries and to be able to answer the students' questions. And that's why, in order to cover this diverse group of countries, it was very helpful to have a team of teachers which could immediately bring examples from different legal systems. We also wanted to experiment with the team teaching to see how effective it is in terms of collaboration between the teachers and the effect on the students, because while we are very much encouraged to cooperate in the field of research, where we produce joint publications and make joint presentations at conferences and so on, the collaboration in the field of teaching in this form is still relatively undeveloped, at least at our institutions, where we are trying to make an effort and to experiment with it. Another reason was to increase the interaction and participation of the students, because by setting this kind of format when three teachers asking each other questions, giving examples, talking and discussing different issues, basically makes it easier for the students as well to participate in this format in the discussion, rather than just talking to a single teacher in class. We have observed that the student participation and student interaction was much more easier in that format. But in order to record our experiments and also to have some materials that we could analyze later, we have chosen a different venue for this course. This classroom in our university we call interactive learning space. The main difference is the setting of the chairs and desks, which allows participants to see each other better, and also the room is equipped with different video and audio recording equipment, so that we can actually keep the video recordings of our lectures and later see, how this team teaching affected the interaction during the class. For the blended learning component, we have used the Moodle platform, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, as used by many universities. We used it to share the reading materials and other teaching materials with students, and also to set different activities that the students can perform while being outside of the class. For example, we have used quizzes, multiple choice questions, in order to encourage students to find out different facts about BRICS countries. We also used polling, instant survey applications in order to engage in this kind of brainstorming sessions, and also to get instant student feedback on whether they understand certain issues or whether they have some questions. This has proved to be much more efficient than actually asking students whether they have any questions and then awaiting their answers. Coming to the learning materials, from the beginning of the course we have realized that there is a lack of the reading materials that would cover BRICS countries in a comparative law aspect, and also that would engage on how the BRICS countries cooperate in different areas. So that is why we designed our own learning material for this course. The first one is the book, the edited book that we have published in 2017 with Cambridge University Press. It includes 16 chapters authored by different legal scholars from BRICS countries and beyond. They cover different areas of law, first by comparing the legal systems of BRICS countries in this field, and then talking about their cooperation in that area. And the second book, published in 2019, is a compilation of the official BRICS texts and materials, which we find was lacking, as there was no single or centralized repository where these documents are stored and updated. So that is why we had to create one compilation on our own. So by using this team teaching, we engaged in in-class discussions with students and also with visiting scholars and guest speakers from different BRICS countries and beyond, sharing their experience with us and with students. In terms of assignment, we realized that the traditional exam format would not be suitable for such a novel and broad subject. So instead, we suggested to the students to engage in the group projects where they would simulate a meeting of the BRICS countries' representatives discussing cooperation on certain matters, and then coming up with a proposal on, for example, harmonizing the legislation or introducing some kind of a cooperation mechanism. So here you can see some examples of such projects which cover very different areas, covering health, food and agriculture, e-commerce, and recognition and enforcement of judgments. We also experimented with a peer evaluation when we encouraged the students to provide a qualitative and quantitative assessment of their peers' contribution to this group project. So we asked them to rate the contribution of each member, and then we asked them to distribute a certain number of points among the members of the team. Sometimes we get quite an unexpected results, something like that, where the unity and solidarity of the students within the group has reached such a level where they basically ranked everyone as an excellent contributor, and then they distribute the points equally. Of course, this was not very helpful to take into account for grading, but it was very interesting to understand the dynamics in groups and how the students engage in this kind of critical peer evaluation. The student feedback about the blended learning format that we were using was mainly positive. Most of the students agreed that it has helped them to learn. Also, most of the students say that they would prefer this blended learning format instead of traditional lecture format because it offers them this kind of out-of-class learning opportunity and activities. On the question whether the blended learning requires more time for learning and using the course materials, here we do not have a unanimous answer, which means that perhaps some of the students are not that engaged out of class, and then we had to think what kind of methods we can use in order to make sure that they participate in these out of class activities. And generally, most of the students agreed that there should be more classes used in this blended learning format. So that would be all from me. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to discuss with you our experiences in the Q&A session. All right, that was my presentation. The only thing to add, maybe to put it in the context of the current teaching in times of crisis situation. Well, not surprisingly, the fact that we have prepared blended learning materials before, and the fact that we have recorded all our lectures for the purpose of observation, as well as recording also guests and speakers that we had, has helped us tremendously during the current situation when we cannot offer on-campus classes. And we moved online relatively easy by just simply adding Zoom sessions, live Zoom sessions with students, and making all of these materials available in the online format. So in this way, this experience also helped us basically to to adjust to the current realities in teaching. I will be happy to address any questions or inquiries. You can post them in the chat. And I will also be happy to give a word to my co-teacher, Rostam, who is also present, if you want to add anything about our teaching experience. All right. So one of the questions is just asking about the concept of inter-regime competition. Maybe it's a bit it's a long story, but just put it simple. The inter-region competition basically is studying the interaction between different fields of law or between different regulatory frameworks. And since they can interact in different ways through competing or accommodating to each other, we just use this term competition, which actually is not the term that we that we invented. There are some previous studies on the term inter-region competition. Yes, there is a question about how did the students reacted to the exam and the assessment method. Just recalling what Jennifer said, that students worry so much about the grades these days and try to choose the subjects which are easy or where they can get an easy grade. Well, in this case, because it was some kind of innovative content which was also new to us, we were not really pressing so much on actually testing the knowledge or evaluating the students. So to be honest, we were not really that strict with grades. Our purpose actually was to test this new material and also to encourage them to work in groups, to work in teams. So in the end, there was, I believe, there was a good satisfaction with this method of evaluation because the grades were relatively higher, yeah, on average, if you compare them with those classes where we're actually testing the knowledge. But that is our approach, that in the master program, and especially with this kind of novel subjects, the point is not really basically to test or to evaluate the students, but rather just to encourage them to learn something new and work together. And in this sense, our project assignment was pursuing this goal.